In this video, we're going to explore 5 insanely awesome niche rental businesses where you can buy up unique equipment or hard assets and lend them out to other people. You can potentially make really good money while the equipment or hard assets do all the hard work. Owning a rental business can potentially be one of the most profitable business models out there. I mean, think of all the people that have gotten wealthy off of real estate, where they bought up real estate and then rented it out to somebody else, and they've made a lot of money that way. And really, at a fundamental level, what you're doing in a rental business model is you are buying up equipment or hard assets, and you are taking that to another person and you are lending it to that end customer in exchange for money. And in my opinion, one of the best things about the rental business is that you're not trading your time for money. You are trading the equipment or the hard assets time for money. And by doing that, you get yourself out of the rat race of trading your own time for money. So let's go ahead and jump into 5 unique rental business models that you can potentially start today. Also, if you're new to the channel, my name is Adam Zwingler, and this channel is dedicated to helping you build blue-collar businesses, start and scale them, potentially to $10 million in annual revenue. There are certain videos that we have on this channel that help you scale, and then there's other videos like this one that just give you ideas. So if you're interested in blue-collar work or rental businesses or anything that's service-related like that, consider liking and subscribing. Okay, so coming out of the gate here is a kayak and paddleboard rental business. And if you're looking for a low-cost rental business idea to start up, then you might want to consider a kayak, paddleboard, and rental business, which can potentially make you $15,000 to $18,000 a month just coming out of the gate. So in terms of options, you've got your regular kayaks and paddleboards, which you can pick up used and relatively inexpensively to rent out. And then nowadays, you've actually got electric kayaks like this E-Magic electric kayak, which can potentially go up to 20 miles an hour and will probably rent out for quite a bit more on a daily or hourly basis. In the beginning, you're going to have to make a decision between 2 potential business models. The first one is an on-location rental business, where basically you're going to have a single location or a couple locations. People are going to know you by your locations. They're going to come to the location. They're going to rent the kayaks or the paddleboards. They're going to go use them. They're going to bring them back. The second option is a mobile kayak business model. And I would suggest that you just stay away from the mobile kayak business model. You don't want to be driving all over town trying to deliver kayaks and pick them up. Just find a good location. It could be as simple as a gas station parking lot or the back of a parking lot of some building. As long as it's in a good area where there's a touristy area where people want to actually jump in the water and use these things, that's really all that matters. I think one of the most important things just right off the bat is just you got to pick a location. You know, you've got to be known for a location where you can show up with 15 or 20 kayaks, which is the amount of kayaks you need in order to make this $15,000, $18,000 a month that you're probably trying to make, and establish a routine and a consistency where people just know this is where you are and this is where you can have this done. Here are some additional things to consider as you're thinking about this business model. Insurance. Just make sure whatever insurance you get more than you think you need. Are you going to sell kayak equipment? Like if people come and rent this off you, do you have an option to sell them products? Also, how comfy are the kayaks? This is something you definitely want to consider. Are you going to offer 1 and 2-seater kayaks or just one or the other? And what about 6 to 10 person groups? Are you going to do kayak parties where you can potentially take a whole group of people out on the water? You also need to decide whether you're going to offer recreational kayaks versus fishing kayaks. There's 2 clientele there. You also want to make sure that you get kayaks that are good enough quality that they're not going to melt in the sun. These things, they sit outside all day long. You got to get good enough quality kayaks that they don't melt in the sun. And then you also need to figure out whether you're going to offer courses and guided tours and stuff of that nature. Lastly, just think about what kind of permits that you need in certain locations. Certain locations probably don't need permits. Others might, depending on the county that you're in. So let's go ahead and break down the numbers so you can see how much potential revenue you can do with a small kayak and paddleboard business. Okay, so looking at half day and full day rates on kayaks. For a single seater, you can typically charge $35 for the half day and $50 for the full day. And on a double seater, it might be upwards of $55 for a half day and $70 for a full day. Okay, so breaking down the revenue numbers, let's just say on average, you can charge about $45 per rental. And let's say that you can rent out on average about 15 rentals per day. That works out to be $675 per day, which works out to be a little over $4,700 per week in rental income. That adds up to over $20,000, actually $20,250 per month, and over $246,000 of rental income per year. let's break down some final thoughts on this business model before we move on to the next rental business. Okay, so breaking down some final thoughts here. Guys, this is potentially a 7-day-a-week business. If it is going to be 7 days a week, you're going to need employees. I would also say that this is really not a bad gig if you like the outdoors. I mean, if you think about it, you're outdoors all day long. And I want to touch on maintenance as well. Maintenance is a real thing in this kind of a rental business, guys. These kayaks, they go out, they go in the water, they come back out. It's not like you just pull them out of the water and you put them up on a shelf. You got to clean them. There's going to be some maintenance involved with the kayaks. And lastly, consider the weather too. Like, you can't do kayaking when it's snowing or when it's raining, or most people don't prefer to do it when it's like that. So this is weather restricted. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to rental business idea number 2, which is a 5 to 10 person mobile sauna, and how people are actually renting these things out. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Okay, so 5 to 10 person wood saunas that are mobile that you can rent them out. And guys, this is, to be honest, this is kind of a weird one. Like, you're not going to find this in most cities or small towns. You will be one of very few people in most cities or small towns that will do this. But if you look, there are people that are doing this, and they're doing it successfully, where they are taking trailers and they are essentially building saunas into them. They're putting them on wheels, and then they're sending them out and renting them out. And there's a market for it. There's a market within small gatherings. There's a market within sporting events where people want to show up and relax and then freshen up before or after the race. There's definitely a market for these, and there's very little competition. Now, you can offer cold plunges and compression pants as an additional add-on, or you can throw it into some sort of a bundle package to make the value offering more strong. Curious how much you can buy or rent one of these spiffy mobile sauna trailers for? Let's go ahead and dive into the numbers. Okay, so based on a few websites that I looked at that offer these kinds of services, it looks like you can potentially pick up a mobile sauna that's used for around $15,000. And the rental rates varied quite a bit, but it looks like on average, you can rent these things out for 1 day for $499 or 2 days for $799. The weekly rate works out to be somewhere around $1,500 or $2,000 for the week. You drop it off and then you come pick it back up again. Also, guys, consider coming over to buildupuniversity.com. This is our website where we offer 2 things that can actually potentially help you. One of them is a cheap, inexpensive website. If you're looking to start a business like this and you need an inexpensive, quality, nice looking website, consider coming over to Build Up University and checking out our templates that we have and how we can potentially build that for you in a quick turnaround time. And the second thing is we offer a 1-hour consulting call. If you want to talk with me or the team, consider coming over there, scheduling a 1-hour consulting call, and we can pick your brain and help you figure out a strategy for starting a business or building a business. Okay, let's move on to business idea number 3. Okay, so business idea number 3, which is a camping spot rental business. And here's what I have to say about this, guys. Maybe you're the type of person that owns vacant land. Maybe you don't own any land and it's just always been a dream of yours to own land. Either way, vacant land is an extremely valuable hard asset that over time just basically keeps going up in value. What most people don't realize is you can buy a piece of vacant land, you can buy it inexpensively. We're going to show you how in this video. And then you can turn that vacant land into a campground, essentially, where you pop up little camping pads. In each one of those camping spots becomes a rental stream of income for a very minimal investment upfront. Okay, so the idea is simple, guys. You buy inexpensive land in a desirable area. Say, for example, like Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. Lots of people like to go there on an annual basis. And you go to the seller and you say, hey, I want to buy your land. I can't come in with cash. I'm willing to put a down payment down. And will you own or finance it to me? Will you allow me to make payments on the land to you until it's paid off over a 5 or 10 year period? You get somebody to do that. And then once you acquire the land, you pop up 10 to 15 campsites with a bathroom facility so that you can start collecting monthly reoccurring rental income off of the land. Even just with 10 or 15 camping spots, you can potentially be generating thousands of dollars a month in relatively passive rental income. Let's go ahead and dive into the 3 things you need to know in order to set a rental business up like this. The first is you need to know, where do I go to buy this beautiful, inexpensive land that's relatively affordable to get into? The second thing is you need to know, how do I set up the camping spots? How do I set up the campsite in order to get this thing going and get the money rolling in? And thirdly, where do I go to get happy paying customers? happy paying campers essentially. Let's go ahead and address all three of those now. When it comes to buying land cheap, there's a lot of cheap land out there. The key is you want to find cheap land near desirable locations. And I would suggest national parks. There's a lot of people that go to national parks, and there's over 400 parks, recreational areas, preserves, monuments, stuff like that across the United States alone, where people want to go there on an annual basis. They show up in droves. Usually the campgrounds fill up, and before you know it, all the campgrounds are booked. Why not offer your own piece of land as a great prime location for people to camp? And as long as they have access to basic amenities, they can show up, they can bring their own things, they can pay you for a couple of nights of camping or 1 or 2 nights or a week or whatever. And before you know it, you're making passive income, and you have the national parks as draws. It draws the people in on an annual basis, people that are just looking for exciting adventures and places to visit. And there you are with your vacant land, able to lend them a camping spot in return for rental income. Now, setting up the camping spots is actually a relatively simple process. Really, all you need is, if you want to do it nicely, is you want to lay down gravel for a gravel spot where people can camp, set up a fire pit on that gravel. And if you really do it right, you're going to put in a septic system and some sort of a bathroom facility. If you have 10 or 15 camping spots, I highly recommend that, just because people do need to use bathrooms. You don't want them just going out all over the place and using your land for a bathroom. But it also allows you to charge a higher rental rate, and I think it attracts more women. Like, I know when we go camping, my wife is always looking for where are the places that have bathroom facilities. So with your land, I would recommend putting in a septic system, putting in some sort of a porta potty or something that allows people to go to the bathroom, gravel spots with nice fire pits, and that's really all you need. Everybody else shows up, brings their own stuff, they pack their own stuff back out, and that's how that works. When it comes to finding happy paying customers, which is the third thing that I mentioned, is you're probably wondering, like, if you buy this piece of land out in the middle of nowhere, like, who the heck is going to show up and want to camp on your camping spot? Well, you'd be surprised, especially if you're close to a national park. There's going to be a lot of people showing up in that area to visit that national park or that preserve or monument or whatever it is. And there's 2 places on the internet where people find campgrounds. They're looking specifically for campsites. You've got Airbnb, that has a very specific campsite section of Airbnb, where you can just look for campsites in different areas. And then you've got HipCamp, which is another app that's very similar to Airbnb. It's kind of the camping app of the internet, and it just offers campsites and stuff of that nature. So you can put your land on both of those apps and potentially bring in customers and book yourself out on your vacant land. Curious how much money you can potentially make with your vacant land setting up campsites? Let's go ahead and do a quick revenue breakdown and take a look at the numbers. Okay, so let's just assume that the average camping spot goes for $35 a night is the rental income. You've got some sort of a bathroom facility, you can charge about $35 a night. Let's say you got 15 camping spots, and on average, 5 of those camping spots are actually rented. So you got 5 camping spots rented on any given day. That works out to be $175 a day, which works out to be $1,225 for the week, over $5,000 of rental income for the month, and over $62,000 of rental income on an annual basis. Now, maybe these numbers are a little high, maybe they're a little low. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of campgrounds near national parks that are booked solid months in advance. So you might find that you're booked solid a lot of the year, or at least in peak seasons. But I think on average, saying 30% of your camping spots are rented is probably a reasonable amount to consider. You can make pretty good money, $62,000 a year, relatively passively. If you have somebody going out there and just doing some light cleanup, and you have somebody that is maybe a virtual assistant that's booking the Airbnbs, yeah, this is relatively passive income for somebody else to pay off your vacant land. Okay, rental business idea number 4, which is a kids mascot costume rental business. And guys, unique caricature rentals is one of those off the radar, somewhat ridiculous rental businesses that honestly should probably be taken more seriously. The reality is, guys, you can potentially make upwards of $40,000 a month for strapping on, like, for example, a T-Rex outfit and showing up at kids' birthday parties. For the right person, it's going to be hard to ignore the amount of cash you can make for strapping on one of these ridiculous outfits and showing up and crashing kids' birthday parties. Even better is to find, say, a high schooler that you can potentially pay $20 an hour to put on these outfits, drive around, do 5 birthday parties a day on the weekends and a couple throughout the week, show up in character and crash kids' birthday parties. You might be paying this guy $20 an hour, but for a T-Rex to walk through the door, or Olaf or Bluey to walk through the door for a kid's birthday party, you'd be surprised how much parents are willing to pay, sometimes upwards of $150 to $200 for the hour just to have somebody show up in this costume and crash the kid's birthday party. Let's break down the numbers so that you can see how much money you can make with potentially, let's say, 3 good costume rentals. So if somebody wanted to rent the costume just themselves, just pick it up, bring it to the birthday party and do it themselves, you could charge maybe $100 for that. If somebody wants to rent a mascot that's going to show up for 1 hour, you could potentially charge $175. And if you wanted that mascot to be there for 2 hours, maybe $225. So if you had 20 costume rentals where you're going to actually be out there and be there for an hour every single week, 20 of them, that would work out to be $3,500 per week of rental income off of the costume rental, which works out to be over $14,000 per month, which works out to be $177,000 per year on one costume rental that's getting rented out 20 times a week. Now, you have to ask yourself if you could do 20 a week. I think that you can. There's a lot of kids' birthday parties that happen throughout every single week. If you go down to the elementary school and you hand out flyers, there's going to be a lot of moms that book you. Now, if you have 3 costume rentals, you could just compound that by 3, and that's how you can potentially make $40,000 a month doing this. And we may have saved the best for last, which is number 5, which is mini electric jet boats. Here's another rental business that is basically so new, nobody's even doing it. As of right now, I can't even find anybody that's producing these kinds of mini electric jet boats here in the United States. So you would actually have to go to Asia to purchase the jet boats. Doing a quick search, it looks like you can potentially purchase these little mini electric jet boats for around $4,700. Now, we're going to break down the revenue numbers so you can potentially see just how much money you can make and how quickly you can make back your investment if you were to pick up, let's say, 6 of these. But before we do, let's go ahead and break down the pros and cons of potentially investing into and starting a rental business like this. Okay, so the pros. You would basically be first to market. No one is renting these. Pretty much anyone can drive them. They're powered by a small golf cart battery. No license is needed to drive them. A lot less moving parts and components that can potentially break. Electric machines tend to run a lot longer and can sometimes last upwards of 20 to 40 years. They cost less than $1 to refuel the vehicle. Now, on the con side, once again, you would basically be first to market. Ordering directly from China is challenging. Costly upfront investment. Mechanical equipment has mechanical problems. Depreciating asset, and heavy to transport around, move around. Let's take a look at a rental business where we have potentially 6 of these mini electric jet boats. Let's see what the numbers break down to be. Okay, so the initial equipment investment is pretty straightforward. Each jet boat is going to cost you about $4,600. Let's say you buy 6 of those, you're going to have an initial investment of $27,000, probably more than that, probably $30,000 or $35,000. Once you figure out all the shipping costs and all that stuff to get them over here. So you've got 6 jet boats. They cost you, let's say, $35,000. That's not in the chart here, but let's just say $35,000. Now, you can rent these things out for about $100 an hour. And let's assume that each jet boat you can potentially rent out for 5 hours a day. So you're going to make $500 a day off of each jet boat. When you add that up over 6 jet boats, that is $3,500 per day, which works out to be $10,800 per week, which works out to be $45,000 in change per month, which is $548,000 in change per year. Will you make that much? No. But as you can see, I mean, for a $35,000 investment, these little mini electric jet boats could potentially make you a ton of money if you get them in the right spot where it's just a high traffic area, touristy, people like to get in the water, they like to mess around. These could potentially really make you a lot of money. And that's why we saved this one as the best for last. All right, so that wraps up 5 insanely awesome rental businesses that you can start. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out our playlist that has other great videos. It's going to pop up on the screen here, and consider liking and subscribing for more great content in the future. On to the next.